Okay, let's unpack this. Picture this creature, right? It almost looks like someone drew a cartoon monkey dialing up certain features, you know? But behind that look, there's this genuinely unique biology. It can swim like, well, almost like a seal, and it eats, believe it or not, like a cow. We are doing a deep dive today into the Proboscis monkey. It's an old world primate, and you only find it on the island of Borneo. Our mission here is to really get into the sources, piece together the information, and understand this kind of bizarre appearance. It's super specialized digestion, totally unique for a primate, and yeah, the surprising athleticism it's got going on. And when you talk about distinctive looks, you have to start with that nose. That huge bulbous thing, the proboscis. It's the defining feature. You'll spot them in the mangrove forests, the swamps, right along the coasts and rivers of Borneo. That's Malaysia, Brunei, and Indonesia sharing the island.
And the name itself is great. Proboscis, that's just the term for any long nose on a mammal. Things like a tapir's trunk, maybe an elephant, yeah. So proboscis monkey literally just means long-nosed monkey.
Huh. Straight to the point.
Exactly. I like to think the scientists naming it were just as struck by it as everyone else. Just called it what it looked like. No messing around.
Makes sense. Okay, let's get into the anatomy a bit more because the difference between the males and females is, well, it's huge. Almost like looking at two different animals side by side. The male's nose, that's the real showstopper. It can grow, what, up to 10 centimeters long?
10 centimeters, yeah. And it's so floppy, apparently. Sources say they sometimes actually have to physically push it aside just to get food in their mouths. Imagine that.
That's incredible. Talk about a trade-off. Your main status symbol makes it hard to eat.
It's a serious biological handicap, isn't it? And you see the difference instantly. The females, their noses are much smaller, sort of upturned, more normal, looking for a monkey, I guess.
So the nose is the headline feature. But what about the rest of the monkey? What's the overall visual?
Well, the size difference keeps going. Males are way bigger, maybe 50% heavier than females. They're actually one of the biggest monkeys in Asia. And besides that nose, they're pretty colorful. Bright orange, reddish-brown fur, some yellowish bits, then there's light gray underneath, and a long tail, too.
Right. And you mentioned other visual things, that big pot belly on the males, which, okay, we'll circle back to why that's there, but also the coloration down below, quite distinct.
Oh, yeah. Very deliberate looking. A bright red penis and a black scrotum. It's quite the contrast. It's a whole package, really. Everything about the male seems designed to stand out in those sometimes murky, shadowy forests. It's not just the nose. The whole look screams, look at me, you know?
Yeah.
That color contrast is definitely another signal.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. The physical abilities. You see this monkey looks kind of top-heavy with the nose and belly. You'd think maybe it's a bit slow, a bit clumsy.
You might think that, yeah.
But nope, the proboscis monkey turns out to be an amazing swimmer, like really good in deep water, which is super rare for primates.
They absolutely have to be. Living in those mangrove swamps means dealing with water constantly. It's not just that they can swim, they're built for it. They seem to genuinely thrive in aquatic environments.
The sources mentioned they cross whole rivers and dive down 20 meters.
20 meters deep, yeah.
20 meters, that sounds intense for a monkey. Is that like holding their breath for ages or just quick dives? Feels more like SEAL territory?
It's usually quick transit or maybe escaping something,
Yeah.
but they have the gear for it. Partially webbed feet and hands.
Webbed feet, okay.
Yeah, not fully webbed like a duck, but enough to give them real power in the water. And it helps on the slippery mud banks, too. Gives them grip.
And they even put on a show, apparently. These wild jumps from trees like 15 meters up and then just belly flop into the water.
Total belly flop.
Yeah.
It really shows how comfortable they are with that whole water-based lifestyle. It's not just functional. They seem to embrace it.
Okay, let's pivot back to that potbelly you mentioned, because this ties into the biology getting really, really weird.
Right. That swollen gut isn't fat. It's all about their specialized digestion. Their diet changes with the seasons, mostly unripe fruit, say January to May. But then, June to December, it shifts mainly to leaves. Tough, fibrous leaves, plus the odd seeds, flowers, maybe some insects.
And those tough leaves, especially in the drier part of the year, that's the key, isn't it? That bulging belly. It's basically a fermentation tank.
Exactly. It holds special chambers filled with bacteria that can break down huge amounts of those leaves that might even be toxic to other animals.
And here's the kicker, the real aha moment from the research.
Go on.
They recently found out these guys are the only primate known out of all monkeys, apes, lemurs, everything, the only one that chews cud.
Wait, like a cow? Seriously?
Like a cow.
Yeah.
Regurgitating partly digested food, chewing it again, swallowing it again.
Wow. So biologically, their gut is closer to a cow than, say, a chimpanzee. That's a huge evolutionary jump.
It's massive. But driven purely by what they need to eat to survive. They have to process that tough plant matter twice, basically, just to get the nutrients and deal with the toxins.
Incredible. Okay, so they're built like these walking fermentation tanks, yet they're also great swimmers. What about their social lives? You'd think maybe they're solitary, slow movers.
Not at all, apparently. They're very social, usually live in these harem-type groups.
Right, typically around 10 to 30 monkeys in a troop. You got one dominant male, he's the one with the biggest nose, of course, then maybe up to 10 adult females, plus they're young. And you also see groups of just males, bachelor troops hanging around, and sometimes lone males, too.
What I found really interesting was how cooperative they seem to be, even between different groups. They aren't described as super territorial or aggressive towards neighboring troops.
That's right. It seems like the environment forces some cooperation. Multiple troops might even gather at night, sleeping in trees close to each other along the river. And during the day, they move together, forage together, keep an eye out for danger together. It's quite communal. Probably helps with predator detection in that relatively open, swampy terrain.
And the roles within the group seem pretty defined. Females handle the food finding and raising the kids.
Primarily, yes. They lead the search for food, take care of the infants. The big male's main job? Defense. Security guard.
Against what? What are the main threats out there?
On land, things like clouded leopards. But in the water, which is where they spend so much time, the big danger is crocodiles.
Ah.
So when danger shows up, the dominant male steps forward. He tries to scare off the predator, roaring, showing his teeth, making these really loud, characteristic honking noises.
Which brings us right back to the nose again. We said it's for looks, for status, but it's functional too, more than just an ornament.
Absolutely. That big nose works like a resonating chamber. It makes those calls much, much louder.
So it amplifies the honking.
Exactly. Helps carry that warning signal further, alerts the whole group. And crucially, it also amplifies his mating calls. Makes him sound more impressive to females. Plus, remember we said it changes color. When the male gets agitated, angry, or even excited, the nose can flush red and look even more swollen. It's a clear visual signal of his emotional state.
So it's all tied together. The look, the sound, the status.
Yeah.
It all comes back to sexual selection. The sources were earlier. Bigger nose equals more attractive male.
That's the bottom line. It's the #1 signal of fitness and desirability for a male proboscis monkey, even if it makes eating physically awkward. That's the trade-off they've evolved.
The ultimate fashion victim, maybe. Prioritizing looks over practicality.
You could say that, evolutionarily speaking, status and reproductive success won out over easy eating. When they do mate, the male approaches from behind, grabs the female's ankles or torso, and apparently both monkeys make this funny pouting face during the act.
A pouting face? Really? The research noted that specifically. That sounds less than enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Such a strange detail.
It is quite specific.
Yeah.
The female might also do this thing where she presents her rear and shakes her head side to side. It's all part of their mating ritual.
Okay. And if it's successful, how long till a baby arrives?
Gestation is around 6 months, usually just a single baby.
And the babies look totally different, right? Not like mini adults.
Not at all. They're born with this really striking, deep blue face, and their fur is almost black.
Wow. Blue faces.
Yeah, it's quite dramatic. But that changes pretty quickly. Within about 3 or 4 months, they start getting the adult coloration.
Yeah.
That first year, the infant sticks very close to its mother. Then, as they grow up, the paths diverge. Females tend to stay in the group they were born into.
But the males?
Males have to leave. They get pushed out as they mature. They often end up in those all-male bachelor groups for a while, kind of biding their time until they're strong enough or maybe old enough to try and take over a harem of their own.
It sounds like a tough life cycle. What's their typical lifespan?
Not super long for a primate. Maybe 15 to 20 years in the wild. And unfortunately, their status right now is endangered.
Endangered. And the main reason isn't the clouded leopards or crocodiles.
Tragically, no. The biggest threat by far is us. Human activity.
How so?
Massive habitat loss is the #1 issue. Deforestation. Logging operations, but especially clearing land. There are specific riverbank and mangrove forest habitat for things like palm oil plantations.
And because they're so specialized, needing that exact environment.
Exactly. They need those riverside forests. Take those away, and you remove their food, their sleeping spots, their escape routes into the water. It fragments their populations, makes them vulnerable.
It's not just less space, it's the type of space being destroyed.
Precisely. And on top of that, the sources also mentioned they get hunted sometimes. apparently considered a local delicacy in some areas.
Is anything being done?
Yes, thankfully. There are legal protections now. Capturing or killing proboscis monkeys is illegal. And there are conservation laws aimed at protecting the species and hopefully preserving what's left of their habitat.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize this. What does it all mean? We've got this monkey that's an incredible swimmer, webbed feet and all, dives deep.
But also digests food like a farm animal chewing cud.
Right. It's maybe one of the most uniquely adapted primates out there, shaped by its environment, but also by this extreme sexual selection pressure focused on that nose.
It really represents this fascinating evolutionary crossroads, doesn't it? The tough swamp environment pushed the digestive system one way towards that slow, cud-chewing process. But sexual competition pushed the male's appearance, especially the nose, in this completely different, almost outlandish direction.
A walking paradox.
Pretty much. And it leaves you with a final thought to chew on, maybe. Now, we talked about the cost of that nose for the individual male, making it harder to eat. But think about the cost to the species. Does selecting so intensely for one very specific high-cost trait like that giant nose actually make the proboscis monkey less adaptable, more fragile, when its environment changes rapidly compared to other primates without such extreme features? How does that kind of intense sexual selection impact long-term survival prospects?